Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Tabitha Akor. Let's begin. It has been another difficult day across southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, with stories of fear, unanswered questions, and hardship dominating the headlines tonight. In Buea, a man in his early 30s is in police custody after a resident allegedly caught him following accusations involving two young children. The case has left a community demanding justice. Also tonight in Bamenda, a family is still searching for answers more than 3 weeks after Ngwe Emmanuel Fundam, popularly known as Chicago, reportedly disappeared following a military operation. Witnesses say he was badly wounded before being taken away in a military vehicle. Since then, his family says it has found no clear trace of him. Meanwhile, thousands of residents in Menchum continue to battle deteriorating roads with muddy and damaged sections of National Road number 11, making life harder for farmers, traders, motorists, and even grieving families. Now, a government maintenance tender has raised hopes, but residents are waiting to see action on the ground. And in Bamenda, millions of francs CFA have been spent rehabilitating an airport ahead of Pope Leo XIV's visit, which happened just a few months back. Yet, 4 months later, commercial flights are still nowhere to be seen. Now, from a family searching for a missing loved one to communities struggling to move and an airport waiting for planes that never came, the stories paint a painful picture of lives caught between promises and reality. But tonight, one story in particular has raised urgent questions about justice, accountability, and the safety of the most vulnerable amidst the ongoing war in Ambazonia. But before that, the prime headlines. 30-year-old man arrested over alleged sexual assault of minor in Buea. Family seeks answers after Bamenda man disappears following military operation. Bad roads deepen hardship for communities along number 11 in Menchum. Also tonight, 4 months after Pope's visit, Bamenda Airport still without commercial flights despite 217 million francs CFA upgrade. And on African news, Tanzania Vice President Emmanuel Nchimbi resigns. On the news across the globe, Iran warns countries supporting the U.S. sanctions could face retaliation. Now let's head on to the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. An early morning search operation by residents of Turning Point, Long Street, Buea, led to the arrest of a man in his early 30s following allegations that he sexually assaulted a 6-year-old child and attempted to assault another aged 3. Now, the incident reportedly occurred in the early hours of Tuesday after the children's father left the house, according to sources in the community. Now, the suspect is alleged to have assaulted the older child and attempted to sexually assault the younger one before the children's father unexpectedly returned home. Sources said the suspect fled immediately after the father arrived, prompting residents to organize a search for him. Now, after hours of searching, community members reportedly located and apprehended the suspect at about 2 o'clock a.m. before handing him over to the police. Now, residents said the suspect was assaulted and forced to dance during the apprehension before being taken into police custody. Now, the allegations have sparked concern within the Turning Point community, with residents calling for the matter to be thoroughly investigated and handled by the appropriate authorities. The suspect remains in police custody as investigations into the allegations continue. Good evening, Barrister Mbeshia. Tonight we have our legal mind, Barrister Mbeshia, with us to give us his thoughts and in-depth perspectives on the report we'll be having tonight. Barrister Mbeshia, good evening, sir.
Good evening to you, and thank you for having me once more.
Always a pleasure. A pathetic one, Barrister Mbeshia. Imagine a 30-year-old allegedly sexually assaulting a minor. Well, I'm glad the suspect has been apprehended, and one funny part of the report is the fact that he was asked to dance. But then let's look about the idea of the investigations, which is ongoing. We are now left to question the actions of the police, if justice will be served, because such cases have been shoved under the carpet in previous times. Let's hear from you.
Well, we have known Cameroon, for example, for always having investigations are ongoing. That's their culture. That's their line of action. But there comes a time that we have to stand up as a community and say, no, we have to end the crime. And that's what those people in Long Street did. At least they played their part. A very organized community. They were able to arrest the guy. They didn't lynch him. In some uncivilized community, they would have lynched him. They didn't lynch him. They, being as civilized as they are, they handed him to the police, or whoever, whether gendarmes, police, whatever thing they call security there. It is left for those authorities to take action. But as you said, action is the exception to them. Inaction is the general rule. But I will caution again the community and the particular parents of the children involved. It's not enough for you to hand over a suspect to the police. You have to follow up. Because what action they take is not going to happen the next day. It could take months before that matter goes to court. And if you are not there, and they call the case 2-3 times, you are not there as a witness, they throw it away. And you be the person to complain, this is a guy who harassed my child. He's walking down the streets. You forget that you had a role to play to prosecute him. The magistrate, the judge, no matter how strict, how legal he is, he's not going to convict anybody based on his own conviction. You have to come forward and testify what happened. Tell the story as you saw it. Then the judge will listen to you, or the magistrate, and act as per the evidence. So again, I want to use this opportunity to tell our people and this particular family that it's not enough for you to hand over a criminal. A suspect is still a suspect to the police. It's not enough for the police, the gendarmes, to bring that guy to court. It will only have meaning if you follow up and prosecute the matter. So don't bear the blame for letting this man go if in the end he is not prosecuted. Feel free. Be at liberty to say, I play my part. But again, anything Cameroonese, as we know it, as I just said, investigation is the normal thing. Prosecutions are the exceptions. In general terms, they will let the people go. But this is a heinous crime. A 30-year-old raping 10-year-old children in the quartier. That is unacceptable anywhere in the world. It is unacceptable in Amazonia. It is unacceptable in Buea. The children must be safe. Where else should we entrust our children? If 30-year-olds who are supposed to be their parents start to rape them, where else should we turn to? We're helpless, but we have to help ourselves. And I guess if this was happening in Amazonia with an active judiciary on the spot, it will take a very short time, because this is what they say, someone has been caught right-handed committing the crime. It takes investigations are so short because he is caught there. There are live witnesses there. Such an investigation should not take weeks. It should take a few days, if at all. And then the matter should be in court. And so there is no justice until justice is done. And justice is only done when it is acted upon promptly. Justice must be fast, it must be commensurate to the crime, it must be commensurate to the time. That's what it makes meaning. And so that's what it is. We urge again our communities to be vigilant. Not just the ones in North Street, not just the ones anywhere else. Everywhere else, you are the custodian of your own children. You are the protector of your own people. And so let this warning go to all of us. There are many of them there down the streets, hiding in the cartiers. Like we know, we've seen so many news items here. The people taking upon themselves, the cash drug dealers. Our cities are full of drug operators. Why? Why? We don't know. We don't know what went wrong with this gentleman. Maybe he was acting also on drugs. Or how did he get to this level? Why would 30 man rape a little child? Like that 30-year-old man rape a little girl? If this woman he wants, I'm sure there are so many women in Buea that could match his match. No child of 10 years can be a match for you for a sexual satisfaction. And so we don't know how this man reduced himself to that level. But again, justice must take its course. The parents have played their role. They have to follow up to the end to be sure that they obtain what they need as justice. Over to you.
It is unacceptable for a community to have such a person like that. I mean, a 30-year-old man, Barrister Mbeshia. You've just rightly put it. It's very sad, and we still look forward to proper investigations. Now, let's see what is happening in Bamenda, which seems to be a trend. More than 3 weeks after witnesses reportedly saw Ngwe Emmanuel Fundum, popularly known as Chicago, taken away in a military vehicle following a security operation in Bamenda, his family still does not know whether he is alive or dead. Emmanuel was last seen on July 31, 2026 around Cooperative Bali Park in Bamenda. According to his relatives, witnesses said military personnel, reportedly members of the special forces, arrived in the area and opened fire. The family says witnesses who were later transported in the same military vehicle reported seeing Emmanuel seriously wounded. They allegedly told relatives that he was dragged along the ground before being placed inside the vehicle. The witnesses reportedly described his condition as critical. They said Emmanuel was later separated from the others and taken to an unknown location. Since then, his relatives say they have received no official information about his whereabouts or condition. Unconfirmed reports have also emerged that Emmanuel may have died during or after the operation. His family, however, says it has been unable to verify the report or locate his remains. Now, in search for answers, relatives reportedly visited a military facility they believed may have been involved in the operation. They say officials there denied having Emmanuel in custody and said they had no information about his alleged death. The family has also searched military facilities, hospitals, and mortuaries across the region, but says none has provided information establishing what happened to him. As of August 24th, Emmanuel's whereabouts, and as of today, remain unknown. His disappearances come amid the ongoing war in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, where civilians have repeatedly been caught between government forces and armed fighters. Allegations of abuses and disappearances involving both state forces and armed groups have heightened fears among communities in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Emmanuel's family is now calling on authorities to clarify whether he was taken into custody, and if so, disclose where he was taken and what has happened to him. More than 3 weeks after, witnesses reportedly saw him being carried away badly wounded. Now, one question continues to haunt his family. They are asking, where is Ngwe Emmanuel Fundum? Requesting that anyone with credible information about his whereabouts is urged to contact his family or the appropriate authorities. Barrister Mbeshia, where is Emmanuel Fundum? Last week in Ekona, We had a similar report of French-Cameroon military men arresting and abducting innocent, unarmed civilians. These are the same people who go through the pain of losing a loved one, just like Emmanuel, the pain of a failed system, what we see in French-Cameroon, and bearing the brunt of the war. Now, today, it's the family of Emmanuel Fundum. Who would it be next? Barrister Mbeshia.
The next will be you or me. Those are possibilities we will find ourselves there. But the narration is not even right. They didn't arrest Manuel. No, that's not an arrest. It's a military abduction. People come with arms, meet you in your house or wherever they find you, catch you by force with force of arms. It's not an arrest. It's an adoption. Because arrest in English has a lot of meaning. Go and arrest the person, you have an arrest warrant. And there are ways, there are rules, legal rules on how to arrest somebody, how to execute that warrant. Those rules don't apply to the military. They don't even know them. They are not supposed to know them because they are not trained to go arrest criminals in town. They are not trained to go catch thieves, to go catch rapists, like the one we just analyzed before. That's not their role. They are trained to shoot and kill. They are trained to fight wars against foreign opponents, not even civilians. Because even when the military gets into a civilian opponent, they don't know how to arrest a civilian. But these are people who are deployed among us. They come to our houses, we go to our farms, they go to where human beings live, wherever they are, with arms, abduct you by force, do what they want to do to you, kill you without questions asked. That family and all of us talking here will be lucky to see this man alive. If we see this man alive, Manuel, he probably would have been incapacitated for the rest of his life. Because this is not an imagination. We've had stories on this ABC several times before. The one judge we did last week. Somebody was adopted in that way, and his corpse was found in Bamenda. He was not been a fighter. I think they said that one was a tailor or somewhere motorbike rider. We have seen people, we have the story out right there in Zerem. They come there with guns and catch everybody in a ceremony, kill people 60-30, and walk away. So this is not arrest. This is outright criminal abduction, criminal killing, right-handed, caught right-handed. Because they have not said this guy had done anything. And poor family, where are you going to find him? When they adopt you, they don't take you to a police station and keep you in custody. They don't take you to a gendarmerie post and keep you in custody. So you can go around all the police detention centers in the whole of Bamenda, in the whole of Cameroon. You're not going to find your brother there. Because their rules don't allow them to take you there. That's their rule, that's their law. That's how they behave. And I can justify this. Just take it away from here. Let go to their own culture. They themselves. But remember the last presidential elections that took place there. Remember the story of Ekane. What happened to Ekane? Ekane went by himself to the military camp where they claimed that they adopted one of his brothers or sisters, one of his. And they adopted him too. And no one ever saw Ekane again until he was dead. They saw his corpse. And they have given no explanation. Nobody has been charged for that. That is their own citizen. And so, if this is their culture, if this is what they call law enforcement, or whatever thing they call it, I don't know what it is, and they are doing even to their own people, do you expect better from us, to us? They will not behave better to us. They will even be worse. Because in their eyes, we are criminals who are not supposed to exist on earth. If Ambazonians were citizens who were supposed to exist, if they were human beings who are supposed to exist legally, Wazizi would not have been captured in that similar manner, taken to Yaoundé for 5, 6, 7 years today. All what we know from them is that Wazizi is dead. We don't know where they buried him, if they buried him at all. We don't know what killed him. Nobody's giving any answer. And so again, what has happened to this young man is just a tip of the iceberg. Many of us have gone through that. I've just given the case of last week in Bamenda. And you find all your brother, if you're lucky to find his corpse, you'll be lucky to bury him. I suspect a young man that if they kill him, they will eat him. Just like they ate Wazizi. Because where is Wazizi? Wazizi was a young man. He still has good flesh on his bones. So you'll be lucky to find this man even dead. And again, it goes to the core of why we are fighting. Why and how do we ever get to this part of the world? To live with cannibals in plain daylight. These are cannibals. If they are not cannibals, let them show us the corpse of Wazizi and others. These are cannibals. Who in the modern world, 2026, will live with this type of community? Call it an organized government, an organized ring of kidnappers, of torturers, of murderers, who do it in open daylight without question asked, talk less, not even from us, talk less of the international community questioning them what they are doing. And again, we have to fight and fight and fight until we save ourselves and save the generation to come. We'll fight in the name of those who have died before us to be sure that the same events don't repeat themselves after us or when we're still here. Again, we pray that they should find that young man alive. We should pray that by the time they find him alive, he's not so incapacitated. So he can move on with his life and do what he can to survive. Again, ambassadors, these are the reasons why we must fight this battle. We fight it with our whole heart. We fight it with everything that we have, with spears, with stones, with everything we have, to make sure God delivers us from this dungeon of criminals. Over to you.
It's the sad reality people from the home front go through every single day. Now let's head over to Menchum. In Menchum, residents, farmers, traders, and motorists traveling along National Road number 11 has become a daily struggle as deteriorating and muddy sections of the highway make movement slower, more expensive, and increasingly difficult. The number 11 is a key transport corridor connecting communities across Menchum and facilitating the movement of people, agricultural produce, and other goods. But damaged sections of the road are now creating serious challenges for road users. For farmers, getting produce to market has become more difficult and costly. Delays and higher transportation expenses are putting additional pressure on livelihoods already weakened by years of instability. Transporters are also paying the price. Rough and damaged sections of the road are contributing to vehicle breakdowns and higher maintenance costs, while passengers face longer and more uncomfortable journeys between communities. The difficulties become even more painful for families transporting deceased relatives for burial. Journeys that should allow families to accompany their loved ones to their final resting places with dignity can instead become arduous trips through muddy and damaged stretches of road. Meanwhile, we see that the road crisis is unfolding against the backdrop of years of the war in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, which has disrupted trade, education, healthcare, livelihoods, and movement. In such an environment, roads serve as a purpose beyond transportation. They determine whether farmers can reach markets, patients can access healthcare, children can get to school, and traders can move goods between communities. There is, however, a potential intervention on the horizon. Cameroon's Ministry of Public Works has launched an emergency restricted tender for the periodic maintenance of about 90.77 kilometers of the Misaje Way Warm section of the number 11. Now, the announcement has raised hopes among residents and road users who have endured worsening conditions. But for communities, the key issue now is implementation. Residents want to know when work will begin, which sections will receive priority, how long the intervention will take, and whether the planned maintenance will provide a lasting solution. There are also concerns that temporary repairs could offer only short-term relief if the underlying causes of the deterioration are not addressed through sustained maintenance and rehabilitation. for communities already grappling with insecurity, displacement, and limited economic opportunities. Reliable roads could play a critical role in restoring trade and reconnecting communities across Amazonia. Now, the number 11 residency is more than a stretch of highway. It is a lifeline for farmers, traders, students, patients, motorists, and families. And as Moody, damaged sections continue to slow movement across Menchum. Residents are waiting to see whether the latest government announcement will translate into visible work on the ground. Now, Barrister Mbeshia, I like to see this way. Let's keep feeding them with empty promises just to keep them afloat. This is just a promise French Cameroon keeps giving to the people without intensely looking at what they are facing. I mean, we keep talking about road in Bamenda, in Buea, and in several locations, and this is Menchum. Let's hear from you.
You remember that yesterday, we were talking about roads in Menchum. Yesterday news, we were talking about roads in Menchum. And I used the opportunity to say, we should not even say roads in Menchum, we should say roads in Amazonia. Because every community suffers the same fate. But today again, we are back on roads in Menchum. And I will use this opportunity. They call it National Number 11. For those who don't understand, what is the national road? What is the national highway in Cameroon? There are not very many. A national road is one that is supposed to cut across several big communities. For example, if you're in Douala, you know that leaving Douala to go to Bafoussam is national number 5. It passes through Mbanga, passes through Bafang, it passes through Kongsamba, those major population hubs. If you're Yaoundé, you hear national number 3, which is leaving Yaoundé to go to Bafoussam. It passes through Bafia, passes through all those big towns. That's what national means. And if they are on national number 11, it will mean that that road was supposed, if it is there, to cover several communities, not a farm to market road. But from the picture you showed there, is that what I said yesterday, that they have nothing to repair because there's no road that exists there. And so if you see what that's what we are saying there, is that why you can say that the minister or whatever nonsense is calling for an urgent maintenance? If you fix that spot, is that maintenance of a road? Can you fix that spot in the context of maintenance? Or you have to abandon that spot, build a new spot. It will no longer be maintenance. It will be construction. And so they use semantics. They use all those lies to deceive us. I'm sure that their national number 11 should cover, if not all, part of what we call in southern Cameroon, the Bamenda Ring Road. We could call Bamenda Ring Road in our own way national number 1, Bamenda. Because that ring road is supposed to leave Bamenda at the time, go through all the divisions of the Northwest, of the Northern Zone. At the time, Bamenda, Nkambe, Wom, and it comes back to the same spot. That's why it was a ring road. And that's the national, that's my own national I describe it. That Paul Biya 30, 40 years ago came there himself with his own mouth and promised to oversee the construction. If Paul Biya, the president of Cameroon, made that promise publicly, it has not been fulfilled for 30 years. How are you going to take the promise from an irrelevant minister who is promising you to do maintenance of what does not even exist? So they use those slogans. That thing cannot be maintained. If they want a road, they will dig a new road. But should they ever dig a new road? No. Because they have proven incapable of making anything good to the people. That is national number 1 and number 11. There's national number 1. I think America made a mistake. Leaving Yaoundé to Douala. Which national number 1 that have been under construction for the past 10 years and they have constructed less than 60 kilometers. They have stolen all the money there. If their national number 1, which links the economic capital with the political capital, has not been constructed for the past 50 years, they stolen all the money that was supposed to go into it without questions asked. Menchum people will be deceiving themselves, think that somebody will come and construct that road for them. From Yaoundé. Shall we revive that road and construct it? Of course. Once we get our feet down as Ambazonians, We shall revive our road infrastructure. We shall purchase new equipment, no, restore the rest that we had. And the people of Menchum will have a good road. In Ambazonia, southern Cameroon, we had nationals. Kumba Mamfe, Bamenda Ring Road, Kumba Buea. These were the national roads. But in addition to that, we knew that farmers lived there. You talk about evacuation. We had farm to market roads, where the farmer in the Kumbe could bring their cocoyams, their plantains, where the farmer in Bafut or some village over there could bring food to sell. These are farm to market roads. But today, all our own roads, you find people crying there in Menchum, want to go and sell food. All our own roads, including the national ring road, have become farm to market roads that are not functional because there are no bridges, there are no gutters, the roads have ceased to exist, rainwater has washed everything. Under the watchful eye of the administrators, of the very ministers who are coming there today. Again, is that why you can say emergency repairs? Certainly not. All those words are to cajole you. Emergency means something that was unexpected. That player has been there for decades, for years, so it is not an emergency. Because what is going on there has been expected, was foreseeable. The roads are deteriorated with time, and they saw it, they did nothing. You don't let yourself get sick, you do nothing until you are taken to the emergency ward. You die there because of your carelessness. You knew that you could have gone in for medicine. You did not until you collapsed. Then you are going for emergency for the doctor to work possibilities. Because you're already dead. No need going into the emergency. Again, back to the roads. Ambazonia in general has no road. Menchum people have no road, they will not have one. The same like Manyu. The same like Kupe Maneguba. We just even have a road for a bicycle. The same like the BLM, we does not even have a footpath. Tallest of Akwaya, we have talked about a million times here. Again, Ambazonians, let their eyes be open. We made a mistake, God punished us, we have repented, we want to get out of it and go back to heaven. Over to you.
Thank you very much for that sound insight, Barrister Mbeshia. Let's head over to Bamenda. 4 months after Pope Leo XIV's historic visit to Cameroon troubled in Bamenda, now we see that Bamenda Airport remains without commercial flights despite 217 million francs CFA spent on rehabilitation and related works, according to expenditure figures presented by the Bamenda City Council. The airport was refurbished ahead of Pope's visit on April 16th, raising expectations that the improvement would also pave the way for the return of regular commercial flights to Bamenda. But since the Pope left the region, the airport has remained largely silent, with no commercial aircraft landing or departing from the facility. The spending figures emerged during the Bamenda City Council's midterm evaluation session and were reported by Equinox Television. Now, according to the council, 105 million francs CFA was spent on cleaning, clearing, and disinfecting the airport and surrounding dome site. Another 32 million went into covering airport gutters with wood, while 45 million francs CFA was allocated for work tools for the city council. A further 35 million was spent on installing decorative lighting along the airport road and within the airport premises. The combined expenditure amounts to 217 million, equivalent to roughly $380,000. City Mayor Paul Achobong said the rehabilitation was intended to go beyond preparation for the Pope's visit and was designed to support the airport's continued operation. The investment, nevertheless, has yet to deliver the anticipated return of commercial aviation. The mayor said Cameco had indicated that commercial flights would resume after the rehabilitation, but that expectation has not materialized. The continued absence of commercial flights has left questions over the future of the airport and the extent to which the rehabilitation works have achieved their broader objective. For residents and businesses in Bamenda, the return of commercial aviation could improve connectivity, facilitate movement, and support economic activity in a region where years of war have severely disrupted transportation and commerce. For now, however, the 217 million investment has produced a renovated airport without the commercial flights many residents had hoped would follow. 4 months after the Pope's departure, the central question remains, when will commercial flights finally return to Bamenda Airport? Barrister Mbeshia, where's the hypocrisy here?
I was sitting right here. I made analysis on the visit of the Pope at the time and what was going on in Bamenda. I spoke about it. I said, I still remember, that all what they are doing there, they are orchestrated to welcome the Pope. These were all pure orchestrations. We said that there was not going to be anything called commercial flights there. Because Bamenda, what they call Bamenda Airport, which is today called Bafut Airport, it was not created yesterday, it has been there for a while. And until the Pope came, until the Papa visit was announced, what was the Bamenda Airport, call it Bafut Airport, known for? What was their own role in Cameroon there, in Bamenda? What we know that was reported, it was a reserve for mass graves, where they kill our people and dump them somewhere there. That was the rule of the piece of land reserved for Bamenda Airport. They kill our people and bury it there. And you don't create mass graves where people will see them. Create them where you can hide. And so, there is no way that Bamenda Airport can go functional. For several reasons. First, they don't even have the planes. You don't do a chartered flight. You don't charter planes to come and do commercial flights. They are so-called Kameko. They have no plane of theirs. If they are not making regular flights between Douala and Yaoundé, between Yaoundé and Garawa, how do you expect them to make flights between Bamenda and Yaoundé or Douala? How do you expect them to make commercial flights into a war zone? Bamenda is a war zone. It is not me saying. Every day while we're here, every single news carries something in Bamenda. People being killed, people being shot. Those are open signs of war. And so the money they put there is not the problem. They can steal money, and they've been stealing money to paint their black colors white. They will do anything, and they did everything. I remember something they were building in Yaoundé there a number of years back. They called Paul Biya Stadium. They had voted in so much money, they could not even build it. What did they do? They went to Amadou Ahidjo's stadium, which they had abandoned and cursed Ahidjo. And they were digging electric poles. From there, they come and plant them in Paul Biya's airport. After the thing had been budgeted for, they are storing the money. They were unable even to put lights there. After doing all that pash, even they're going to dig poles from Ahidjo Stadium to Paul Biya Stadium. As we speak today, the stadium did not work. It is not working. So those who sit in Bamenda and Buea, they are coming to do anything. No, nothing is done by Cameroon for nothing. Everything they do there is political. Yesterday, we were analyzing the Commercial Avenue streets, which were heralded as a wonderful job done on the arrival of the Pope. The Pope is gone. You see the Commercial Avenue. That's the main street in Bamenda. There are no traffic lanes there. If they have the opportunity to explore everything, we saw it even deteriorating. The so-called tower is already going off. And so Bamenda Airport was meant to cajole the Pope, deceive the people. And remember, we're the one talking. I just wonder how our own people get so fooled. I remember during that Papa visit, as far as the Bamenda Airport is concerned, I remember the religious, was it Archbishop Andrew, making us say, oh, let Bamenda Airport open. He's still in Bamenda. He still goes to Rome. He has not bought any plane in Bamenda to go to Rome. Bamenda Airport has not opened. The Pope is come and gone. Yaoundé is like that. The Papa visit, according to them, they invited the Pope to sell out their own program. The Pope is come and gone. They've gone back to what they were. They believe that they've achieved what they wanted to do. They wanted the Pope to come and have a good impression of their country. They wanted the Pope to come to Bamenda and showcase their belief that they are doing to normalcy. That country, they can get everything to normalcy, which is what they are doing after the Pope went. What do you find there? After the Pope went back, You find them, and other people there, they have launched football competition 2 months after that to try to showcase normalcy. They went to Yaoundé. They were breaking people's houses in the streets to prepare a street so that the people, according to them, reported officially, so the papal delegation will not see their back roads. Now the Pope is gone. They have gone back to what they were. They don't change colors overnight. Once you are black, you are black. And so the Bamenda airport thing is just a symbolic thing. My belief, if you want me to say, as I've just said before, Bamenda airport will go back to what it was, to a site for mass burial of Ambazonians. And that will continue until Ambazonia is free, because the war is still active. It will remain active until we gain our freedom. When they started Bamenda airport, I remember at the time, I asked the question. And in the West Cameroon, in the Southern Cameroon, there was nothing like Bamenda airport. What the Bali airport? What became of the Bali airport? What happened to it? They suddenly became Bafoot Bamenda airport. They killed it. They tried to resurrect one they call Bamenda airport, which they put in Bafoot. It was not moving. They transformed it into mass graves. It did not work. The Pope came there. They tried to plant a number of things there. They planted. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, just after the Pope left, they were removing down the lights. In Bamenda airport, they pulled down some of the lights to show the journey is over. The Pope is not coming back the next week or next month. Even if he comes, another big dignitary will not come to Bamenda. They will come and remain in Yaoundé. They will remain in Douala. That will be all. They will not see the mess. Again, this is an eye-opener. Do we still have anything to hope for? No. Can we ever trust the so-called city mayor, the Menchum? Can you ever tell you the truth? Can you ever believe in him? Certainly not. Our freedom is up to ourselves. Our liberation is ours. Our future is for us. So says Mr. Ben Muna before he died. Fight and fight to get your own freedom. Your parents will not come to fight for you. They are dead and gone. You have to fight for yourself and for the future that they produce after you. Thank you. Over to you.
Absolutely, Barrister Mbeshia. Well, thank you so much for the thoughtful perspectives, the analysis you brought to the report here today, seeing all that is trending from the home front. We want to say thank you for always doing this with us at ABC Networks 24. Well, this is where we'll let you go, so we'll head over to the rest of the news. And see. Tanzania's Vice President, Dr. Emmanuel John Chimbi, has resigned from office barely a year after assuming the position. Chimbi tendered his resignation on Tuesday, saying he would leave office effective September 4th, 2026. His resignation later, Chimbi recalled a commitment he made to President Samia Suluhu Hassan on August 27, 2025, to serve her administration and Tanzania with loyalty. He said he had also promised to step aside if the president decided she needed a different vice president. Chimbi said he had concluded that President Hassan wanted a change in the vice presidency and had therefore decided to honor his commitment. Now, his resignation comes amid continued political controversy surrounding Tanzania's government. President Hassan's administration has faced criticism over the treatment of opposition figures and the political environment surrounding recent elections. Departure means President Hassan will have another vice president, third person to hold the position under her presidency. Now, Hassan became president following the death of her predecessor John Magufuli in March 2021. Now over to Zambia. Zambia's Supreme Court and Constitutional Court were closed on Monday for security reasons, preventing opposition figures from accessing the court on the final day for challenging President Hakainde Hichilema's election victory. Meanwhile, a judiciary memorandum directed staff not to report for work as police officers were deployed inside the closed court premises in Lusaka. Authorities said security assessments were still underway. The closure came as the deadline expired for filing an election petition, prompting criticism from opposition politicians, lawyers, and civil society groups. Hichilema was declared the winner of the August 13th presidential election with about 60% of the vote. He has rejected allegations of electoral fraud, while independent observers have raised concerns about the conduct of the election. Opposition leader Brian Mundubaili had announced plans to challenge the result. However, several members of his political camp were arrested after the election, while Mundubaili was questioned by police over alleged national security offenses, which he has dismissed as fabricated. Opposition allies said they were working to ensure a position was submitted before the deadline despite the court's closure. The Law Association of Zambia and civil society organizations warned that shortening the court on the filing deadline could undermine the constitutional right to challenge election results. Now we see that the latest development has also intensified concerns about the political space for dissent in Zambia, which has long been regarded as one of Africa's more stable democracies. The court's closure now leaves uncertainty over whether the opposition will obtain judicial review of an election that has already become politically contested. We now head over to news across the globe. Iran has warned that it will retaliate against the United States and countries supporting new sanctions as Washington prepares to expand economic pressure on Tehran. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei said on Tuesday that further U.S. escalation would have consequences, warning that Tehran retained options to respond. Now the warning follows weeks of stalled efforts to resolve the war and come as the United States prepares to announce additional sanctions. Dispute is also intensifying over the Strait of Hormuz, a key global energy route through which about 1/5 of the world's traded oil before the war began nearly 6 months ago. Iran has said it will not fully reopen the waterway unless the United States lifts its naval blockade, withdraws its forces from the region, and compensates Tehran for wartime damage. Tehran is also holding separate talks with Oman on possible arrangements for managing the strategic waterway, regardless of whether it reaches a new agreement with Washington. Now we see that the latest sanctions have added to economic pressure on Iran, with rising prices affecting ordinary households. Iran's currency fell to a record low on Monday, highlighting the impact of the worsening economic situation, with Tehran now warning that support for U.S. sanctions could be treated as an act of war. The dispute risks moving beyond economic pressure into a broader regional confrontation. Now, the Trump administration plans to revoke the non-immigrant visas of foreigners who have applied for or are seeking asylum in the United States, expanding the administration's immigration crackdown. The United States Department said Monday it was coordinating with the Department of Homeland Security to identify and revoke visas held by foreigners who enter the country on short-term business or tourism visas before seeking asylum. The department did not disclose how many visas could be affected. That was it that the Associated Press reported that up to 200,000 holders of B1 and B2 businesses and tourism visas issued between 2016 and 2026 could be targeted, citing State Department documents and 2 U.S. officials. The planned revocations would not automatically lead to immediate deportation. People with pending asylum cases could retain their ability to pursue those claims but would lose their status as businesses or tourism visitors. The move is the latest in a broader immigration crackdown under President Donald Trump, which has included visa and green card revocations as well as increased deportations. The administration has defended the measures as necessary to strengthen U.S. national security and curb what officials describe as abuse of the asylum system. Rights groups have accused the administration of violating due process and free speech rights and creating an increasingly hostile environment for immigrants and ethnic minorities. The State Department said earlier this month that more than 175,000 visas had already been revoked under the Trump administration. The latest policy could face further legal challenges as the administration continues efforts to restrict both illegal and legal immigration. And with that, we've come to the end of Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. But before we go, a recap of the prime headlines on Undaunted tonight. In tonight's Undaunted, we saw a 30-year-old man arrested over alleged sexual assault of minor in Buea. Family seeks answers after Bamenda man disappears. Following military operation, bad roads deepen hardship for communities along number 1 in Menchum. 4 months after Pope's visit, Bamenda Airport still without commercial flights despite 217 million francs EFA upgrade. And on the African scene, Tanzania Vice President Emmanuel Chimbi resigns. And in the rest of the news across the globe, Iran warns countries supporting U.S. sanctions could face retaliation. And that is all on Undaunted tonight, bringing into the news untold stories. On behalf of the entire Undaunted newsroom, we say thank you for joining. We'll leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God bless.